Well, staying with the World Economic Forum on Africa, the first plenary session with the youth focused on what they are doing to develop the continent. Some of the African youths who participated in the forum believe that the growth of Africa in the last 20 years should be associated to the teeming youth, while others say the economic challenges are not giving them the opportunity to dream big and they should be empowered to take charge of the continent.
Africa's youth has done something radical. The last 20 years has shown the growth in Africa. You could correlate that to this generation of Africans. The reason is, compared to our father's generation, we have decided we want a different Africa to live in, to grow up in, and also to build a better life for ourselves. If you look at the history of what a lot of countries in Africa have come, where they've come from independence, a lot of these countries were handed over to people who were trained and educated by the colonial masters. So they were taught in a certain type of way to run a polity. 60% of the continent of Africa today, from the numbers, are under the age of 30. So if you see the radicalization of what is going to happen, and it's happening, it's transforming the continent, is the focus of the youth from areas of e-commerce, telecommunications. It's a different ballgame. And the main difference is this: we want a better continent.
You see the bright spots, you see those of us that are really stepping up and wanting to shape the future. But I think that because of the particular challenges that we have, we need to dream really big. We need to carve out really bold solutions. And it's hard to dream big from nothing, right? The way that you get to the point where you're able to dream really big is that you start with small dreams. So maybe your first small dream is you want to go to a particular high school, and then you're able to go. So you realize, actually, there are no limits. And so whatever world you want to see, you can create. And I think that possibly because of some of our economic challenges, not enough of us are dreaming even the small dreams, so that we can, be emboldened by our successes with the small dreams to get to the point where we are really looking around us and saying, I want to conquer poverty.
We're living in a continent that has a very huge youth population. However, I think another dimension to it is, as much as we are shaping the Africa that we're living in, we're not doing enough. It's good that, here we are, we're young people and we're playing a huge role in shaping the communities that we're living in. But how many are there of us that are actually doing that? How many are there of us that are privileged enough to be sitting at this stage? So I think, if anything, those of us who are privileged enough to have platforms like this need to be advocating for the other 199 million, and challenging the older generation to allow for us to have that circle bigger. We have the numbers, and if anything, we shouldn't have to, for example, resort to violent means to having our causes heard. And so it becomes vital that as young leaders, we recognize the responsibility to have, not just to ourselves, but the Africa that we want to define and the Africa that we want to live in.
There's another narrative to this. I mean, we have to be enabled, we have to be empowered, and we have to be inspired. I think it's not a one-way street. It's not a matter of us just taking it. It has to be offered. Do we snatch it? No. If we're going to get criticized for snatching it, we're going to get criticized for not taking it. But it has to be a halfway house here. So I think our governments, our people, in general, there needs to be more done in this area where our voices do need to be heard, and I absolutely agree that the circle does need to be brought in, but at the same time, we need to be heard. We need to be, and we have to have a seat at the table, but at the same time, it needs to be a halfway thing where we're willing to take it, we're willing to do as much as we can, but they have to be willing to give it as well.
The African Union say that in the 50 years to come, I hope I will be still alive, but anyway, some of us will be gone and others will take the ball. But we need to make sure that this generation is part of this process. We say that in 50 years, we think that Africa is rising. In 50 years, Africa will be prosperous, with peace with itself. That have been the message. But also they added, with the the development were centered on the people themselves. You are the people, the youth of today. You are the one who have to drive the development of this continent.